On today, we unveil another game based on the Quake 2 engine.
Kimberly, come in. Are you okay?
You are now listening to Retro Radio.
Welcome to another edition of Retro Radio, your only comprehensive online source for classic, arcade, and computer gaming emulation news and information. I'm Shane R. Monroe, your host. Welcome to the program. Well, things have been pretty busy in emulation land the past few weeks, and we have a metric butt ton to cover, so let's get busy. First, let's start with the editorial commentary. As most of you know, Dave's Classics is down again, the second time this month, maybe forever this time around. The first shutdown is reputed to have been Sony bringing them down for carrying the PlayStation BIOS files for use with the PlayStation emulators. I guess that was a bit foolish to keep something that gray online during the current controversial times, what with them trying to sue Connectix and all. The second seemingly final shutdown seems to have been instigated by 3D Effects, makers of high-end 3D gaming cards, in regards to Dave carrying Glide driver wrappers, which are programs designed to give Glide 3D Effects type support to cards that are not Glide compatible, video card emulators, if you will. With 3D Effects all panicky over other technologies sneaking into their global gaming-dominated market, they overreacted just a bit in my humble opinion. The last thing you want to do is shake consumer confidence, and by slamming down an emulation like this, that is exactly what you're doing. And I hear about it all the time. Screw 3D Effects, they shake down Dave's, I'm going to go buy a TNT card, blah, blah, blah. People like that aren't going to help 3D Effects out in the coming months. The internet is not the place you want to get the big black ball, which is exactly what's starting to happen. And Sony getting all tight over the BIOS, well, I don't get it with them either. I mean, PlayStation technology is nearly superseded now anyway. With the PlayStation 2 right around the corner, why piss people off this close to the end? I don't know. The struggle of intellectual property protection is getting a bit old to me. It's almost like vogue to attack emulation in sites that support it. You know, I have this mental picture of some CEO at Nintendo sitting down for lunch with the executives at Sony talking about how the two of them are going to control the console market over the next 2 years. I don't think this sort of thing doesn't happen. Between the two of them boasting about how many sites they were shut down. Yeah, Robert, we got 15 sites shut down last month alone. Does my heart good to know that Mario's safe from all that intellectual property plagiarism going on out there. Guess next year we'll enjoy that $3.4 million in lost revenue the IDSA told me about. How are things at your end, Bob? Well, hey, we just took down Dave's Classics. You know those guys that tried to pull down last year? Yeah, heck, they folded like a cheap lawn chair. The two of them laughing as they pull out their personal silverware out of their overpriced jacket pockets. Maybe I'm just bitter because I make under $20K a year, and they make more than the president of the most powerful country on earth. I don't know, but I think the whole thing is getting just a tad out of control. Now, hopefully you've all listened to Mike's Back in Time latest episode, the interview with the Hasbro Interactive people, because I'm going to rant about it for a while now. First, before I hit the negative points, let me hit something she did say that was rather important. They, being Hasbro, have been receiving tons of hate and flame mail with regards to their lackadaisy outlook on the Atari Jaguar's Battlesphere game, which is held up in production due to a copy protection issue that only Hasbro can flag as a go, and other related Jaguar and Lynx issues as well. First, you people are idiots. You go to somebody's front door ranting like a lunatic. Not only are they going to close the door in your face, they just might pull out a shotgun and blow your head off to boot. If you want action, this isn't the way to get it. In fact, it's just the opposite. Go through the rituals. Do the letter writing and petition campaign thing. Show them that you care and you're not some hate monger. Somebody approaching a company like that is only going to give the company a sour stomach about the whole scene in general. Now, I can't control what you people do, but telling the marketing director you're going to come kick their ass if they don't re-release the Jaguar is definitely not the right answer. Now, let's get on to the rant section. Wait a minute. First, I got to hand it to Hasbro about one thing, just before we get on the negative stuff here. They aren't on the warpath like Nintendo and Sony are. They're laid back, and they're taking that see-what-happens approach about classic emulation. They're not closing down sites or sending cease and desist orders. Bravo to that. You are a wise people. Your attitude will get around and people will buy your emulation stuff. Trust me, you will be rewarded in the future. Now for my bitching. First off, sell the Atari hardware off if you're going to sit on it. Over and over, Dana stated that they were a software company. They basically had zero intentions of reviving the Jaguar, which I couldn't give a damn about personally. The Jag has no competitive edge to push it into the gruesome-ass console market. Or the Lynx, which, in my humble opinion, still kicks the butt over all the other handhelds out there and could really have a shot at knocking Nintendo's Game Boy back to the minor leagues where it belongs. Tiger has proven that they can't create a decent handheld. Bye-bye to Gamecom. So license over the Lynx to them. And Tiger, make it compatible with existing hardware, improve the battery life, hell, give us a recharging, long-lasting power supply while we're having our Dream Fest here, and don't make any lame-o protection or advertising crap to make it hard for people to release games, like all the ones that are currently in development. Don't feed me crap about working out a 2-year business model to, quote, see if you want to do it, unquote. Technology moves too damn fast and you can't afford the time. Get the Lynx back out there. Call it something else if you're so inclined. Something hip and trendy and competitive. If you want to know how to make it work, give me a call or email me. I'll help you out. It doesn't take a marketing genius to listen to the people, give them what they want, and use existing technology to do it. You don't have to plan it. Slap a new name on it. Throw some marketing dollars at it. Instant hit. You have to get some licensing to get some of the hotter games out to sell the system initially. But when you tell these kids they can play up to 16 people at a time, believe me, they'll jump at it. The color backlit display, the heavy internet interest, and the sales chains already in business, it sounds like a simple math plan to me. As for the Jaguar stuff, get off the soapbox. We don't want to have to support it if it bears Atari's name. This cop-out's crap. Do you really think that when someone needs technical support for Rogue Squadron 64 that they call Nintendo? Of course not. They call LucasArts. Just because the game runs on, quote, your, quote, hardware doesn't mean you're obligated to support it. That is simply a cop-out any way you look at it. Besides, internet-based support is preferred nowadays, and this company making Battlesphere is already into it. This bullcrap copping out under the guise of protection of intellectual property is an old argument. Come up with something better. Like I said, I don't give a rip about the technologically dead Jag. I had one for about 2 weeks and went back to my CD32. But don't stifle everybody else. Enough said. Now, don't get me wrong. Hasbro is not a problem company for me. They're the closest group to doing things right that are out there. Now, if they'd let us license the Atari ROMs right off of their site for use with emulators for nominal fees, maybe they'll work up to that. Hasbro does deserve a pat on the back for at least taking the wait-and-see approach instead of the sue them now and ask questions later. Good for you. You know, completely unrelated, I heard the funniest thing from a guy who works for Disney. Might just be talk, but they were kicking around the idea of writing titles simply for the PlayStation and then just bundling up with Blim, the PC PlayStation emulator, for the PC version instead of wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars rewriting it for the PC. What a crack-up. Never happened, of course, but it's a funny side story all the same. Are you having trouble with roaches? 25 million Americans have trouble with roaches. If you have trouble, then try Roach. Proof. It works against roaches. And now, page 2. Okay, so I'm not Paul Harvey. Let's update with the world of classic game emulators. First, let's start with RetroCade. Not much at all happening with RetroCade. So little, in fact, I don't have anything to report new from the last show. The Windows version is getting final tweaks, and the next private beta, which may become a public beta, is forthcoming. Now for MAME. MAME is up to version 0.35 beta 10, and it's really a whole new ballgame these days. In fact, I don't recognize the games being added anymore. Shooting Master, Senyo, Star Cruiser, Rodland, Earth Defense Force, Avenging Spirit, and Disco Number 1 made all of this release. Of the last release, I only knew of Super Burger Time. They've been plugging away, though, and new MAME has some new tweak modes and history database a la RetroCade. There's seemingly lots of custom releases these days of MAME, though, like KB MAME, etc. I don't know. I can't follow it all. As for the main fact, though, now, since it was housed at Dave's, and obviously Dave's just not coming back up anytime soon, it'll be switching homes, with Dave's being down and all. I'm not sure where it'll go yet, but it'll go somewhere. Now for something totally different, let's talk about the new emulator called Hive, which stands for High Velocity Emulator. I love mnemonics. And it really isn't new. It's the follow-up version of Cage, released by Larry Bank. You can see this at hive.speedhost.com. This is one way cool emulator, people, and you know what it takes for me to be impressed these days. What makes it so damn cool? Well, the fact it runs in a window. Simple, but cool. In fact, for the purpose of evaluation, I tested one of my favorite games of all, Galaga. Frankly, it seems to be rather a system hog, the game Galaga is, so testing it running on a window was my first and best test. First off, consider getting these ROMs for this emulator rather an Easter egg hunt. Very few RetroCade ROMs work, and even some main ROMs I had to pick through and alter to get it to run. My verdict? Wow. Galaga runs damn fast. In a window. I'm amazed. When Zookeeper works, I'll be in heaven. Suffice to say, you need to get over and pick this MU up. Save Larry the sorrow. Read the README to see what doesn't work and what doesn't work right. Don't flame the poor man. I'd like to see this emulation continue to improve. You can also get over to www.muviews.com and pick up the goods. MUViews is a great source of ROMs and MU and, of course, reviews. End of plug. It's time for an 8-bit flashback. One of the most talked about games in history is the famous Karateka, as I called it, although I understand the proper pronunciation is Karateka. Since I've called it Karateka since the beginning of time, I'll just call it that for the rest of the flashback. Amazingly enough, this serious kick-ass game didn't begin as a C64 product to which all others were compared. It started on the Apple IIe, back when Broderbund owned the home computing market with games like Prince of Persia and Lode Runner, each of which spawned dozens of remakes, rip-offs, and modern renditions. Karateka, for as cool as it was, has never been remade or updated for the 90s, which is a shame since it was one kick-ass game. For those of you not blessed enough to have played this game, let me set it up for you. You're a karate artist whose girlfriend has been snagged by the evil Akuma, one badass warlord dude that has the badass pet attack bird on his shoulder. He will claim her for his own unless you can stop him by infiltrating his fortress, defeating a legion of fierce karate warriors, and ultimately killing Akuma and his vulture crony. Ooh, that storyline hasn't been done about 1 million times already, has it? Well, remember, when this came out, it only been done a couple 100,000 times, so it was still pretty ripe for the picking. Anyway, although it had been done many times in dozens of karate movies, there had never been a storyline as so intricate for a home computer karate game. And with the other dozen karate games out there for the 8-bit platforms, like the irresistible and sustaining play of International Karate or Exploding Fists, what made Karateka a runaway sleeper success? I'll give it to you in a single word, folks. Presentation. Good example, if you go to dinner at a friend's house and you get up to the card table with a paper plate of macaroni and cheese and a paper cup of milk, you may not be too impressed. But if you're served pasta and cheese sauce on fine china at a mahogany table with golden candelabras, heck, the meal's the same, but you smile a little more. That's what Karateka's all about. Same game, but a damn fine package it is in. The gameplay is pretty much standard through the game. You have 5 or 6 moves ranging from punches to kicks, and amazing you can pull that many moves off with a single fire button to begin with. You have a health bar showing the amount of hits you can take before you die. Likewise, your enemy will have a similar bar. Naturally, it's usually greater than yours. And theirs gets longer and longer as more enemies come at you and the time goes on. There are various progressive scenes starting from outside to the final confrontation within the fortress itself. Along the way, you will encounter about 3 or 4 different, graphically speaking, bad guys, the large vulture of Deathbird, and finally fight the big man himself for the finale. Screenshots passing by on your screen should be giving you a pretty good idea as to what's going on. The faster you advance to the fortress and within the fortress, the less enemies you inevitably end up fighting. Your health gradually charges back up on its own as the game progresses, giving you a chance to recuperate a bit. Of course, the more you wait for health to go up, the more adversaries you have to contend with, so it's sort of a double-edged sword. The bird attack towards the end requires pretty much mastery of the fighting arts, since most of your attacks can't hit him, and he attacks at random. Actually, I found the bird himself to be harder than Akuma. As I said before, the game is very cinematic. The storyline is laid out from beginning to end with cinematic cutscenes. These aren't full motion video scenes like today, of course, but the music and sufficient animation really helps set the scene. It makes you really want to save the girl. As you progress, she even stands up from her cell bench and slowly makes her way over, a little closer to the door. It's really cool as time goes on, and you got the soft, sweet music for the girl and the real evil-sounding music for Akuma as he sends his grunts after you. Everything's top-notch. Graphics are clean, sound is perfect, and the gameplay, well, similar to all the others of the genre, is diverse enough to keep you from mastering it quickly. Granted, the replay value may be quite light once you finish it, but it will take you a while to get that far. One word of warning, folks, even though you can stand up and run by standing in your traditional fighting position, be known that if you're running towards an enemy and he hits you, you automatically go down regardless of your health. So I'd throw that in there for you beginning Karateka players. You know, the more I actually sit down and play 8-bit games, you know, the classic ones like Karateka and Archon and all those, it really shows off, you know, the way games have changed. You know, not only in terms of graphics, of course, and sound and all that other crap, but in terms of the game itself. I mean, what's today's theme? Shoot everything that moves, get to the end of the level, get to the next level, shoot everything that moves on that level, get to the next level, find the key that opens the door to the next level while shooting everything that moves, and watch out for the thing hanging down from the roof. You got to kill him too. And if it's not that, it's annihilate the other side through tactical warfare. And if it's not that, you know, you're pretty much back to the standard, let's race around the track and see if we can beat the other guy. I mean, that's pretty much the three big genres of games, you know, real-time strategy, first-person shooter, and driving, or racing of some sort, be it planes, trains, or automobiles. But it wasn't like that in the old days, you know? You look at Karateka, it's like an old-fashioned hero game. You know, how many old-fashioned hero games do you have now? What, Duke Nukem? That was no old-fashioned hero. He's just a foul-mouthed guy looking to go kick some alien butt, which there's nothing wrong with that, to be sure. But it's not the same thing, you know. It's just different. It's different. You know, the 80s had hero themes and a little more passive type situations. You know, you had some things like Raid over Moscow, Raid on Bungling Bay. You know, you had your military games, but it wasn't, you know, a total obliterate the enemy sort of thing. Beachhead 2. That's one of the greatest examples of multi-part war games. And it's more action-oriented, to be sure, but it was different. I mean, if it's not first-person anymore, or isometric view real-time strategy, it just doesn't sell. And I find that kind of sad. You know, maybe it was just the mentality of the 80s. Maybe it was the way the 80s were for me, you know, with the bubblegummy music and the more passive video games. Hey, you know, they had Libyan Commando on the C64, which was plugged as the only game where all you did was take human lives. Now, granted, we had our share, but it's not like today, Quake 2 engine, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, enough of that ranting on. I just find it interesting to note a paradigm shift in terms of the way not only games are made, but the themes and whatnot behind it. I mean, Abe's Odyssey was about as, you know, the whole Abe's collection was about as passive as it got these days. I mean, you always have the kids' edutainment stuff, but that's not the same as, you know, the diehard gaming stuff that we have today. You know, go through the archives of the shows I reviewed, like Dino Eggs, you know. There's nothing violent about Dino Eggs. You know, Archon, yeah, there's no blood or gore or anything, which it actually could have used now that I think about it. But Marble Madness, one man, one ball, one marble. You know, it's that sort of thing. Would Marble Madness be as popular today? No, there's no blood and guts. Nothing controversial. How can you sell a game? You know, I can't see a representative from Atari saying, this summer, the CEO of Atari is going to make you his bitch. Suck it down. They get away with, John Romero can get away with that. Atari, I don't know. Anyway. Suffice to say, 8-bit gaming is just not the way that it used to be. Well, wait a minute. It's not 8-bit gaming at all. Duh. It's getting late. I should probably wrap the show up. As I finish up the show, this episode, I'd like to send some special thank yous to some great folks out there who have contributed significantly to Monroe World and Retro Radio. First, thanks always go to Digital Leisure for allowing me to use their Space Ace and Dragon's Lair clips on my site and in my show, and for providing me with a copy of Dragon's Lair DVD to review for you folks. Next to Adam Burns, the archiver of the defunct Dark Unicorn Productions, for providing me stuff I forgot even existed from the old Dark Unicorn Productions collection. Brian Little from Millennium Times Radio for running my Retro Radio ad and having me on his show. Finally, all the good devoted followers of Monroe World and Retro Radio who have signed up for the mailing list. We are now 200 strong. I promise to take good care of you. Of course, my listeners and visitors, you are always cherished, and your allegiance and participation with the site is the greatest anyone can ask for, and you have my eternal thanks. Well, folks, that will wrap up this episode of Retro Radio. I urge everyone listening to hop on over to www.monroeworld.com and check out all the other goodies that my site offers, including programs and multimedia clips that you just can't live without, my hopefully soon-to-be famous easy guides for getting the most out of your PC, my game emulation pages, and much, much more. As always, I do read and try to reply to every piece of email I get, and I do get a bunch, and I appreciate all of the kind words and suggestions you've all written for the show. My name is Shane R. Monroe from Retro Radio. Until next time, keep it retro.